Hey guys, it's Katy at scrappinkaty.ctmh.com. And this week I am joining the creative design team to bring you Embellishing Made Easy, a part of our monthly YouTube series, where we'll show you how we embellish our projects and maybe inspire you to embellish your own. So we'll be going all week till next Saturday. And here is a look at the papers that I've pulled out. Now, the majority of my layout will be using the Hillside Cottage. And I am just loving the patterns on this one. You get 6 pieces of paper, double-sided, so you have one pattern on one side and then a different one on the other, as well as those gorgeous zip strips, and then that huge sticker sheet. And then I'm also going to be pulling in our mix-in collection. Now, the mix-in collection is meant to perfectly match any of the paper collections in our 2-month catalog. And you can see here those gorgeous patterns, and I'll be pulling out mainly tags and then embellishments that go with the Hillside Cottage. So off camera, I have already cut a sheet of those tags, and I just like to cut them all and then group them in their different shapes. And then here is a look of the photos. Now, if you remember our color theory video a while back, I showed you where I like to actually choose a color in the photo that complements the paper packet that I'll be using. And so that's where the New England ivy from my husband's shirt came in, and that's why I chose the Hillside Cottage. So I am going to be creating a frame for my layout. Now I'm going to be building my layout on a New England ivy piece of cardstock, and I just like to gut out the middle by cutting an inch frame all the way around. Now this is going to be a 2-page layout, and I've decided to just stamp a little image all around the edge of that New England ivy that shows. And then I'm going to be doing a fun technique. I actually attended Close to My Heart's album retreat this weekend, and they did a whole lot of watercoloring. And the wonderful ladies over there have actually figured out how to mix a couple of watercolors to match Close to My Heart colors. So I've just mixed 11 and 12, and I'm going to be using a sponge to apply that to my layout base. Now, you'll only see me mainly working with the left layout, but I've also put it on that right layout as well. And I just love the look that the sponge brings in. Now we have a new thin cut. It's our circle thin cut. I've cut that largest one and then the smaller one. Now the larger one I'm going to end up journaling in, and then the smaller one I am going to take one of our new stamp sets. It's called Spot on Sentiments, and I'm going to be stamping up 2 sentiments. One says I love you, and then the other one says you and me, and I'm using Bluebell ink. And the smaller circle from that new circle thin cuts, it works on these 2 sentiments. Some of the other sentiments kind of go all the way to the edge, so it's not going to work. You would have to actually fussy cut or maybe create a circle on your Cricut. So for my left layout, I mainly wanted just a bar of the 2 larger photos where my husband is actually cooperating, and you'll see what I mean by that here in a second. And then I definitely wanted to bring in some of that pink or peach color, and then definitely that bright yellow, and then some of those tags. So right here, I'm just kind of playing with placement, and then I am going to pull in an exclusive from the Hillside Cottage scrapbooking workshop. This pattern is only available through that workshop. Now, I love to buy those workshops so I can get the exclusive pieces, but sometimes I kind of just do my own thing. And so I knew that I would not be using this. So I'm going to fussy cut out these flowers, and that is going to be part of my embellishing process. Now, I know you can't see a whole lot of this fussy cutting because I kind of went off camera, but I just kind of wanted to talk about the embellishing process, and it all has to do with layers. And you kind of already seen me do that while laying out my pieces, but you'll definitely see that here in a second as I start to attach them down to my layout. So I'm going to go ahead and start gluing down these photos and then that bar of pattern paper. Now, I contemplated putting my photos kind of straight, but when you see my right hand layout, you'll see why I decided to kind of do these kind of askew as well. So those are going to go kind of to the top of my layout and then centered left to right. And then I can start tucking in some of these little patterns. Now, what I love about these tags that come with the mix-in cut-apart sheet is you've got all different types. You can see that one is kind of pointed at the end, and then this is a traditional tag. And then you've got the pennant down at the bottom that says, love this. And then I brought in the circle from those circle thin cuts. And then I have the circle from that stamp set as well. And then, of course, I have those two bold patterns from those flowers that I cut apart. So this stamp set is the Hillside Cottage scrapbooking. And I love that Close to My Heart has a couple of these. So they're actually 3-step stamps. And I'm going to be using that bottom gather. And I'm going to be using New England Ivy. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that stamp to kind of stamp behind this piece that I've fussy cut. And again, that's just going to add another layer of depth or dimension. And then I'm going to add some 3D foam tape to these flowers. Again, embellishing is all about grouping similar, I guess, images, and then also adding dimension by using either stickers directly to your project. You've got fussy cut pieces, pop dotted. You can even double up your 3D foam tape to add even more dimension. And then you'll see here in a little bit, probably toward the end of the video, where I add even more with other embellishments and then liquid glass. So I've glued those down, and then of course forgot my little circle. My circle is actually also cut from an exclusive pattern paper that's only found in that Hillside Cottage scrapbook workshop. And I'll leave the link to that workshop down below, even though the only thing I really use from it are those exclusive pattern papers. So I'm just using my T-ruler and my Versamat and my journaling pen to add some journaling lines. The majority of the journaling will be here, and then there will be some hidden. And so I am going to just go ahead and attach that you and me, and then we can start adding the other layers of embellishments that I was talking about. So the Hillside Cottage comes with these wonderful wood shapes. Now, if you are not new to Close to My Heart, you know that we've had wooden shapes for a while. The thing I love about the Hillside Cottage is that it also comes with these black shapes. They're acrylic, but one side is shiny and one side is matte. And then those acrylic shapes actually fit perfectly inside the little holes of the wooden shapes. So you saw where I just did that flower. I'm going to do the same thing with one of the smaller flowers. And again, I'm just using glue dots. And then you can see that fox, he has a little flower on his body, and there is a flower that goes perfectly inside his body. And there's a couple of other images. You have got to go check out these wooden shapes from the Hillside Cottage collection. So another layer of embellishment or dimension is definitely thread. If you follow me, then you know that I love my thread jumbles. I got the idea from the wonderful Missy Whidden, and it's something that I love, and it also just adds another layer of embellishment, another dimension, and another texture. So you see here, I've just tucked in some thread behind the top portion of that flower grouping, and then I am just adhering that to the page using 3D foam and then some glue dots. And then I've decided to use one of those black acrylic hearts for the center of that tag that says love this. Now remember, these black acrylic shapes have a matte side and a glossy, and I've decided to use the matte. And then the other thing, mainly for my title and some of my journaling, I'm using a new stamp set that's called Moments with You. And I have found this product that I absolutely love for intricate cuts. These are adhesive sheets. I'll link them down below. But you attach your paper to the adhesive, and then you will die cut that out. So I'm just going to attach the I love. Now this is a little 3-piece. I totally foresee me losing the dot to that I pretty soon because it is tiny, but I love that Close to My Heart made it a separate piece. So I'm just going to cut this out. Now keep in mind, again, if you didn't see, I peeled back the backing of this adhesive sheet, then attached that exclusive pattern paper from the Hillside Scrapbooking Workshop and attached it to that adhesive. And then I'm going to run this through my die cutting machine. You don't have to have any special die cut machine. Any machine will work. And you're just going to run it through like you would anything else. So know which side is your cutting mat and which side is your other mat. And you'll just run it through. And then you'll do much like any other die cut. You want to separate it from the thin cut metal piece. And then you want to actually, this is an intricate word, and so close to my heart, thin cuts come with little holes. So I'm just going to use my paper piercer to get that word out of there and then set those aside. So I've got I and love, and then the dot to the I, actually the adhesive already pulled back. So I'm going to bring in my right layout and start adhering this title down. Now, the good thing about these adhesive sheets is you just use your paper piercer and you peel off that thin layer of backing. And then voila, it is adhesive. And it's a whole lot better than applying a thin bead of adhesive. Now, off camera, I have used some of the sentiments from that stamp set, and then I am going to also thin cut the word us from that same exclusive pattern paper. Now, the stamp set does come with the word us, but I wanted it bold, and I was having so much fun with these adhesive sheets. So again, you just grab that backing with a sharp, like paper piercer, like you saw me do there, and then just attach it to your project. I am going to use a bone folder just to make sure that those are really adhered down to my project. And then I'm going to bring in that left side, and then we're going to add another layer of embellishment. So much like my thread, I want to use some of this mink twine for another texture. And if you know me, I can't stand to have tags that don't have things through the holes. So I'm just going to cut a few pieces, tie knots at the top, and then I love to use glue dots to actually adhere those knots to the page. I actually like or let my twine kind of fall naturally. I do some manipulating, but by using glue dots, I can ensure that once I put it in my memory protector, those little twine pieces actually stay in place the way I want them to. So another layer of embellishment, as always, whether you like bling or not, it just always adds that extra sparkle. So I'm using our glitter gems. Again, I'm grouping them in 2s and 3s, and we have large and small glitter gems that come in each package. Now, not only does this kind of just add some dimension, but again, it adds that extra sparkle, and it just really helps with the embellishing process. Now, an afterthought, I thought, those flowers needed something more. You definitely could have used the glitter gems to finish off the centers of these flowers that I fussy cut out, but I decided to bring in my liquid glass. You can see here it is not neat. I'll end up cleaning some of this up with my paper piercer. But I am just adding a little bit of liquid glass to the center of those flowers. I'll do the same over here on my right layout. And then once this liquid glass dries, it just adds this glossy look to the center of those flowers. Again, you definitely could have used either sparkles, you could use glitter gel, anything like that is going to add an extra dimension and an extra texture to your little embellishment groupings. And you'll see here in just a second the still shots that show how that liquid glass looks when it's dried. So to clean it up, I just use my paper piercer and I just scrape off some of that excess. Now on some of the little bitty flowers, those little yellow flowers, I'm just going to leave that alone. But you definitely, if you are a perfectionist, you can clean those up with a sharp image. So here is a look at the finished product. Now, again, here's a look at those sentiments. I love the stamp set. And again, if you use those adhesive sheets, I'll leave those linked down below. Makes it really easy to adhere those to your page. Here's a look at that close-up of that watercolor that is sponged onto my page, as well as all those textures and that liquid glass that is dry on those flowers. Again, this is a YouTube series, so the creative design team will be posting all week. Tomorrow is Chelsea. I'll leave links down to everyone's channels down below, as well as all the products that I used. And then I'll come back and try to add a direct link to Chelsea in case you're watching this after Monday. As always, thank you so much for stopping by and watching. If you liked what you saw, leave me a thumbs up and a comment. And if you haven't already subscribed, please hit that subscribe button and sign up for notifications.